So, welcome everyone to the Peaches Cast. I'm your host Pierce, alongside of my usual co-host Dylan and Jimmy. But we have an incredibly special guest. If we tried to go through like all the stuff she's done so far in her life, we'd be here forever, and we actually want to ask questions. So, welcome to the show, Florence Schelling. How are you doing, Florence?
I'm doing very well. Thank you so much for having me.
Again, like we said before the show, we're just a little podcast, so it's a privilege to have on a, four-time Olympian. So, thank you so much for coming on. And before we get into any of the hockey stuff, I you just have such a cool background, and I want to have to, and I bet you, like that's probably what a lot of places in Switzerland look like. So I just want to ask you what what Switzerland is like. Like, what's your favorite part about Switzerland? Whether it's like the culture, the people, or the food, or any of that.
Um, well, that's kind of a hard question to start off. I love everything about Switzerland.
Yeah.
It's really, I mean, the scenery with like all the mountains that we have, it's just
Hmm.
a beautiful, like it's a small country, so traveling within the country is perfect because it doesn't take that long to go from one place to the other, and you're like in a completely different um a city that speaks a different language. Like we have four different national languages. So it's just like everything, culture, people, landscape. It's just beautiful to be from Switzerland and to live here.
I think that's what's different between living in Europe and then in like North America, where if you go like travel like a few hours east in Europe, you're in a different country. Whereas
Yes.
if you're in Canada, you travel a few hours east, you're in the middle of nowhere. So
Yeah.
I find that so cool. And like Switzerland's a place I want to go to. Like you mentioned, like the scenery, the Swiss Alps. The people just seem so nice there. Um, and like I just want to ask, like, what's the cuisine like there in Switzerland? Like, what's different? What would it be different from here to North America?
Um, the cuisine is
Yeah.
like we don't, I would say we don't have like a special cuisine, but like we do have some special dishes such as like fondue and raclette.
Yeah.
So we're big on like the cheese,
Yeah.
but that's not something that you'd eat every day. It's more for like a weekend and like get together with the family and stuff. That's when you do those things. And then like we're big on chocolate as well.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah, I think, yeah. So
definitely
yeah,
for sure.
we wanted to start off with that hard hitting question. So, um, I'm gonna hand the floor to Dylan. He has a question to ask for you.
I when we were kind of looking at kind of your resume basically and all your accolades and whatnot, and we realized that you played for Switzerland during the U18s, and I just kind of wanted to know what that experience was like, representing your country as a young teenager and being on such a big stage and just having that moment. I'm just curious what that was like.
It was very special. At the same time, I was so young, I probably didn't fully understand what it meant. For me, it was like obviously I was proud to be able to represent Switzerland at such a young age. At the same time, I just wanted to play. I wanted to play the game, and to me, it didn't really matter too much at the time. Putting on the Swiss jersey or a club jersey. But at the same time, like I was very honored. I was proud to be able to do that. But for me, it was more of like I just wanted to play and I wanted to play at my best.
You were
Oh, yeah.
16 and the first time you played at the Olympics, right?
Yes.
Or just turning 17? Because like that's so crazy to me because I did so many stupid things as a 16-year-old. I can't even imagine playing on one of the biggest stages like in the hockey world as a 16-year-old goalie. That is
I
so
was playing house
incredible.
hockey in high school or something, man. Like, that's insane.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. Like I was so young. Like my experience at the Torino Olympics, it was so different than like my experiences in my other three Olympics, just because like obviously I grew older. I understood more what the Olympics are all about and like what it really meant to be part of the Olympics and like play there. Whereas when I was 16, like I felt more of like a tourist than anything else because it's just like it was overwhelming. It was just so much, and at the same time, I didn't understand it.
Well, Florence, obviously on this topic and just in general, everyone knows you have this long history in the Olympics. You've been there multiple times, 4 times to be exact. If there was one memory you wish you could go back and experience again, which one would it be and why?
Definitely going back to the Sochi Olympics, and that being the bronze medal game. Going back to like the last probably 5 minutes of that game and just like relive it, really the last couple of minutes of that game, and then like until the buzzer sounded and we won that bronze medal.
Yeah, what did that feel like, that entire experience? Because I believe that was the highest Switzerland ever placed.
Yeah, like that experience is unreal, and like just talking about it now I get goosebumps. It's really it's hard to put into words what that really meant and like what was going through my mind at the time. It was just like kind of everything coming together, like all the hard practices, like the sore legs and like the conditioning training, the weight training, all the on ice training, the off ice training, like everything just came together. And it's just like, okay, this is the reason why we went through all of that. This is why we do all of that. That's why we practice every day, to be able to celebrate such a moment.
That's beautiful.
Oh yeah, I can imagine the every second ticking off that clock felt like a minute.
Oh yeah. I had at the time when I was participating at the Sochi Olympics, I was working for the International Ice Hockey Federation, and so one of my colleagues was actually filming me for the last 5 minutes of the game. He just had the camera like full on just me, and he sent it to me after. And like whenever I look at that, I'm laughing because you can actually see like I'm shaking, like I'm like moving my body, and I was just like, oh my god.
But that's what you play for. That's what you play for. Those moments, those last 5 minutes, the crunch time. That's what you play for. That's awesome.
That's amazing.
I'm pretty sure as like a 13-year-old watching that game, I got up at like 4 or 5 in the morning watching it, but I don't remember how it went. Do you remember how the game went down, like in terms of scoring?
Yes.
So
we were actually down 2-0 going into the third.
That's right.
And then we evened it out, so we went to 2-2, and then we scored the third goal, and then they pulled the goalie, and actually the youngest member of our team, Alina Mueller, she then scored an empty netter, making it 4-2, and then I got scored again. So it was 4-3. So it's just like,
jeez. It's like not out of the woods yet.
Yeah.
Seriously.
No, it was oh my god.
Yeah, because I remember watching the game. Yeah, I remember watching the game, and I'm like, I'm pretty, like, I don't remember how it went, but I'm like, I'm pretty sure Switzerland was trailing by either 1 or 2 goals heading into that third, and it was just like, that was like, it seems like such a hard mountain to climb against a good Sweden team, but the fact that so again, such a small country like Switzerland prevailed, that's just such an awesome story, especially at the Olympics.
Yeah, thank you.
What's been your favorite place to play at, just like anywhere in the world? It can just be an arena or like just like visiting a city. That doesn't include Switzerland, obviously.
Oh my god, that's like, I visited so many different rinks, and oh my god, I don't.
Well, I guess like some that just stand out. That doesn't have to be one particular.
I mean, one that's like really like you got my heart is Matthews Arena in Boston. That's like, I mean, it's an iconic like rink. And I had the privilege to play there, being a student at Northeastern University. And so playing there, obviously, like walking into Matthews Arena every day, it surely was something very special, knowing it was the home of the Boston Bruins and the Celtics back in the days. So that was surely very, very special. Probably, yeah. thinking about it now, probably the most special one that I ever played in.
I'm pretty sure that arena is like, obviously, because you bring like that, that's the Bruins' old home. So that must have, I'm pretty sure that arena is pretty old. So that's pretty cool that you got the experience of playing there.
Yeah.
So
they did renovate it, but
yeah.
Yeah, still got all the same stuff in the 70s. Oh man. I got to imagine that playing hockey at Northeastern was pretty awesome because, like, I mean, at least from all my friends that I talk to, I mean, hockey in the Northeast is just so big and everyone goes to all the games and stuff. How was that playing for Northeastern, and what
like for me it was
there?
just like overall a great experience because coming from Switzerland, women's hockey is not big at all in Switzerland. Before actually winning the bronze medal at the Olympics in Sochi in 2014, when I would tell people that I'm a hockey player, they're like looking at me weirdly and be like, wait, do women play hockey? And so like people in Switzerland really didn't know that women hockey existed and that women can play hockey and all of that. So obviously, like growing up, I played boys and men's hockey. And for me, like moving to Boston, that was like a big switch, culturally and everything. But then also for me to play in a women's only team throughout the entire season, that was something new to me. And just like the standard that women's hockey had in the States was such a big difference that I really enjoyed. Like we were set equal in terms of like the Title IX. We were equal to like what the men got. Like we had the same opportunities and all of that. So it was just like, it was so refreshing for me, and I really enjoyed every second of it.
Oh yeah, college hockey is just such a treat, and I've just it's got to be awesome to play for one of the bigger schools. Like you said, like that's just so cool.
You come over and that's your first experience. It's got to be incredible.
Yeah, absolutely.
My next question, unless you guys got something to add here, or
well, I was actually curious, Florence, growing up in Switzerland, you mentioned there's not really women's hockey, and not to rag on Switzerland, hockey's not as big as it is in other countries and such. Were there any idols you had that were either from the area or maybe from the IHL, just really anywhere? Who were those for you?
So I actually, growing up, I never really had an idol. What I instead loved to do was I just loved watching hockey games. Be that any team that I was actually able to watch, I would go and watch. And I would always observe goalies and see what they did differently than what I did. And like just pick things up from what I saw them doing, and then I tried to do that in practice, or eventually then also in games. And so I would just like try and apply the things that I saw on other goalies. And so in the end, like every goalie around the world kind of became my idol, just because I felt like every goalie has so many different aspects to their game, and I didn't want to just like copy one, but be like learning from everybody and just taking that and apply it to my game.
That's a computer brain. That's incredible. Like that's like I could never add all that information to my mind if I tried. That's incredible. I guess that's
and this is not like
end up a 4-time Olympian.
This is not a knock, but I feel like you got to be different to be a goalie, which is so awesome. Yeah.
You know what? Never what's to say? Never meet your heroes. Might as well just like not have one hero. Just take all the information and be your own hero. Yeah. Yeah.
I respect that so much. Yeah. So my next question, I don't want to get too dark with this, but obviously, like your spine injury, like that was just, I remember reading an article about it, and like that just like felt like ugh, like when I read it, I just felt so awful, and I wonder what it was like during the darkest days of those, and like what helped you got through that, because obviously during COVID right now, like people are going through a really hard time right now, and I'm just wondering like if you have any advice on getting through it's like down time like that.
Absolutely. Like My spine injury was definitely the worst injury I've ever had, and it put me in a situation that I was never in before. Um, but at the same time, I took this as an opportunity. Like literally from the moment I received the information that I fractured my spine and that I'm gonna have to get surgery, I kind of took this as like a shock at first, but then like I pretty soon went into surgery, and once I woke up from surgery, like the doctors told me like everything went well. You know, they explained the process, that what they did, and like what's gonna happen now, like all the things that I have to do. And I kind of like from that moment on, I just looked at it in a very positive way, because with an accident like I had, you basically have three options. Option one is you die. Option two is you're paralyzed. And option three is you will make a full recovery. And for me, is I knew at this time that I will make a full recovery. So I just looked at it in a positive way, because I knew the recovery is not going to be fun. I knew it's going to take a long time to recover, but at that same time, I knew I was able to recover, and I won't be in a wheelchair, and I'm still alive. So I kind of just like I looked at the different options or situations that I could have been in, and in the end, like I was lucky enough to like chose the best situation. And I think I just like throughout this whole time, during my rehab and all of that, I just kept reminding myself that I was just so lucky to like be able to go through that recovery, and know that I eventually will be well again.
That's so awesome to hear, because obviously life isn't perfect. Like we're always gonna go through our downs and ups. So it's just so awesome to hear you have such a positive outlook on something that like that just like affected your life so
That can
hard.
take
So that's
apart many
awesome to
people's
hear.
lives, really.
Yeah,
That can really, yeah, that can change
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
For sure.
And like even now with like this whole COVID situation, like I'm lucky enough, like I have not been infected by COVID, neither has anybody in my family. So like
that's
I look
good.
at it as a very positive way. In times where we were in lockdown, I like obviously I know it's very hard for a lot of people. At the same time, I looked at it in a positive way, because then I'm like, okay, I can do so much things that usually like at home that usually you keep pushing off, because there's other things you can do that are much more fun and stuff. So I just like always try to look at the situation that we're in as it is what it is, and figure out a way to look at it in a positive way.
Love that. It is what it is. Um, so you kind of bring up like being in lockdown. Like, did you pick up any activities while like on lockdown? Like just that basically anything. Like it could even just be like, did you binge watch any TV shows or any of that?
Not honestly, not really. But like what I did is like I just like the regular stuff. Like I cleaned out my closet. I was cooking a lot more than I usually did. Just like the basic stuff. Like um I did what I was able to do at home. And I was still able to like, like we in Switzerland, we were never in like a hard lockdown. Like I believe you guys were in North America.
Yeah,
Hmm.
still
So
are
like
really, but
yeah,
Yeah.
unfortunately. So like we never had like this hard lockdown, so we were still able to like go outside. So I was able to go for a walk around the lake and just stuff like that. So it wasn't like just sitting at home and like basically waiting until you're free again. So I do think it's a bit of a different situation than what you guys experienced.
yeah,
Oh yeah.
just like during COVID, like it just even going out on like not many places are open, and if they are, it's like you can't really do much because it's just such a
Mm,
limited capacity. Again, it's just kind of finding like just positive things to do, and the stuff you kind of
mhm.
take for granted, even just like going for a walk. I'm like, oh, it's so nice to get out, even if it's like super cold sometimes, at least for me being in here in Canada. So yeah.
Yeah.
Um, I actually, so for the next question, I had a question about when you started in management and coaching, because I, as someone who wants to work in the sports industry, it's it's kind of it's a business where it's not about what you know, it's about who you know in a way. So I was just kind of wondering, what was maybe like the best advice someone gave you when you first got in the industry, or maybe there was like a mentor or someone that helped you out that that really gave you good advice along the way. I was just curious when you first got into the industry.
Um, well, so like from my experience, like the coaching was very much different than actually like being in the management position. So like within the coaching, for me, it's just like I kind of slid into it. I just retired from playing actively. And I believe it was like 2 or 3 weeks later, I was asked to become assistant coach of the Swiss women's under 18 national team. And for me, it's just like, okay, it's a big opportunity. I actually never thought of like coaching players before. But then again, like just the way I'm thinking, like I try and look at everything positive, and I really felt like, okay, this is a huge opportunity. The head coach at the time, I can learn lots from him. And so for me, it was all about just being a sponge, like taking that job. And every time like we had camps or games and tournaments, it was just like, okay, like ready, like squeeze out the sponge. Before I went to camp, I was like a sponge, like just taking in everything and really like ask as many questions as I could, like really learn, and also like question stuff that was being done or being decided, like question like, why is it like that? Why do you take that decision like that rather than this? And just like kind of not being shy to ask questions, and really being aware of the situation that I was in, because I was new. I was never a coach before. So kind of just like being open about the situation that you're in, and then just soaking everything up that you can.
Yeah, oh, yeah, I can imagine, definitely. I like the analogy of you wring out the sponge before you go, and then you just bring in as much as you can. Like,
yeah,
I totally get that. That's the perfect way to describe it. Oh my gosh. It's just like we said before, we were looking through your resume, and you just have all these amazing accolades that you've accomplished. And it's almost like you just have all these different experiences. It's incredible. So it's been great to pick your ear, or pick your brain a little. I said pick your ear. That's a new one. Pick your brain. Oh,
it was a part of the human head.
There it is. There it is. There's the icebreaker. It's close.
That's a good thing we didn't open up the podcast with that. That would have been at least we kind of gotten to know each other. So at least there's a bit of understanding.
Florence, we're really looking forward to picking your ears today. I'm very happy to have you on.
It looks like he left, but I don't know what happened. But how weird is it for you? Because obviously you were at the Olympics 4 times through 2006 and 2018. That this will be your first Olympics since 2002 that you're not involved in.
So I am actually going to be involved.
Ooh.
Just in a different position.
Okay. I didn't even know that. That is so cool. That's awesome.
So
breaking news, or we got sources here, Pierce?
Yeah.
Rumblings?
Yeah. So actually Friday in a week, I am leaving for China as well.
Oh, that is awesome.
And what's happening is I'm a candidate for the IOC Athlete Commission. And so within like the whole Olympic team, I'm going to be traveling to China. I'm going to be part of the Olympic Games, but just like kind of run for 2 open spots in that Athletes Commission.
Wow, that's awesome.
So cool.
What?
I did not even know that. So that's news to all of us.
So it's going to be a challenge, because we're 17 candidates for 2 spots, and all the athletes that take part at the Beijing Olympics, they are the ones that can vote for those 17 candidates, and obviously the 2 with the most votes get to be elected into that athletes commission.
Well, best of luck.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Seriously, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how to take this. Is this like breaking news on the podcast? Like we've got our own sources here.
For us at least, this is completely fresh. Yeah.
It's not breaking news.
It's definitely not breaking. Yeah, sorry.
The list of candidates came out, I believe, in October or something. So
breaking for America, I guess. Is what I should say.
Yeah.
For most of America, us uneducated folk.
Have you ever been to China? Like, have you ever been to that part of the world?
Yes, actually, multiple times. Funny story. Back in 2002, I was in Beijing for the first time in my life, and in 2002 there was this SARS pandemic in China, and at the same time in this pandemic, the World Championship was supposed to take place, and so Team Switzerland and a lot of other countries actually they actually flew to China. So we were there. We started our training. We had exhibition games and all of that. And actually was Canada and the US didn't want to fly to China because of the SARS pandemic.
Yeah.
And it was like in all the newspapers, like the pandemic was like, it was so badly written about and stuff, and people felt like we weren't going to be safe there. And so the IIHF actually canceled the World Championship. And so we flew back home, which was very upsetting for me because it was supposed to be my first World Championship. But at the same time, like, it was a pandemic in China. So like we understood. And so that was my first experience in China. And then we had another World Championship in 2008 in Harbin, which is somewhere in China.
Yeah, somewhere in that big country. Yeah.
One of the
So then that was like my second experience in China.
That's so crazy that you said like 2002. Like, how old would you have been? Like 13? That is just so
I think I just turned 14.
Oh, okay. Either way, that's mind blowing to me.
What an experience.
Every time she says something, I'm like comparing it to my pedestrian hockey life, and it's just like the comparison. Like, I just started my first house team, like at the age of 13, 14. I was so proud of myself, and she's like, "Yeah, I really wish I could have been at that World Championships we had there, but whatever."
In China,
I'll just go next year, or whatever. It's just the usual Don life.
I have a question to ask. What do you think, like, just like playing hockey, like, who was the hardest like player you had to face against, like, whether like if you fear their shot or just any of that? I guess the best way to put it is like the hardest player to get a read on, because you don't know what they're gonna do.
This is a hard question because I played against the best female hockey players in the world, so they're all very, very good.
Yeah.
But if I had to pick one, I would pick my former teammate at Northeastern. That would be Kendall Coyne Schofield.
Oh, hey, there we go.
I always rather had her playing with me than I had to play against her. So just because, like, obviously she's a phenomenal hockey player. The speed that she brings to the ice is incredible.
She's heading to the Olympics again.
Hey, she beat some NHL players with her speed. Yeah, she's no joke, man. She's what, only 5'2"?
No, she's not. I don't think she's that tall of a person.
No, she's a speed demon, man.
Yeah, she's super fast.
Anyways, I don't know. Do you guys have any more questions to ask here? Because I want to get into obviously the most important part, like the lightning round questions.
Oh my god. Okay. I can't say I have any other questions. Schmitty, how about you?
No, I'm good. My internet's cutting in and out, so I'm smiling and waving at this point.
Go on, Florence, say thank you for answering all these questions. Seriously, you've been great.
Thank you so much.
It's been an absolute pleasure.
Yeah. So lightning round questions. It's basically just like I don't know, like favorite TV show, favorite like
The
book
most important questions
yeah,
are if you're
obviously the most important question.
Okay.
So I'll start off with that. What are some of your favorite TV shows, and like, is there any like TV shows that are like made in Switzerland or something that I'm not aware of? Like that's what I'm interested to hear about.
Not sure, but I'd say like my favorite would always be Friends. I
Yeah,
just
I respect that. Yeah.
well, Julie's on theater.
um, what are some of your favorite like books to read, if you're a book reader?
I do read a lot of books. They're all very like different, but mostly like in terms of like personal development. That's just like that genre. I love to read that.
Okay. Some of your favorite music that could be just like a favorite artist, band, album, or whatever.
Tough one. I'm not big of a like music person, although I love listening to music. I just like listen to the radio. So
Okay.
whatever's being played
Which
in
is
the radio,
Radiohead.
I kind of listen to that.
And obviously the most important question of all, do you
Oh
think
my
pineapple
God.
belongs on pizza?
Yes,
No,
yes,
no. We had you up until this point.
Yeah.
We had you up until this point. Come on, come on.
I'm like, I've grown more on the side. I'm like, it's pizza, it's whatever, I'll eat it. But I think the feeling is
Wait.
not both the other two.
Was it? They have a positive mindset, Pierce. You gotta just remind yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm lucky to have this pizza.
Yeah.
That's the Florence Schelling mindset. That's why she likes
it. It
it.
is what it is, man. Exactly.
She's there for you just to have the pizza. That's what matters.
Anyways, again, I don't know if you guys have any more questions to ask, or we can wrap this up.
No, just thank you so much for coming on.
of
No,
course.
seriously, I feel like just amazed to say I was able to talk to you. Seriously, thank you for your time. Thank you for giving all of us your time. And
course.
giving our listeners such a great show. Thank you.
You are very welcome. Thank you again for having me, and I wish you guys the best of luck.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Is it okay
And
if
you
I just
too.
is it okay if I just say some words, because I remember listening to your podcast that you do with Craig Cousins. Like, this is almost 2 years ago at that point. I remember just listening to it. It was just such an interesting interview. And I'm like, I got to find a way to get you on. And I remember, I'm pretty sure like I sent like some kind of email, like probably close to 2 years ago now. So it's been awesome to have you on, that it finally came like to fruition that we're
Fruition,
so again, it was so again, just echoing the words of the other boys, that was so fun to have you on, and how engaging you were, and how fun you were to talk to. And again, I wish you best of luck, and hopefully you get that position with the IOC in China. That'd be so awesome.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.